Hi, my name is Palabo. While I'm working on the next season, I'm going to be sharing some flashback episodes of some of my favorite places around the world. This episode is from Kosovo and was recorded in April 2018.
There are so bad stories that when you think of those, I cannot imagine experiencing those things. I have family members that was in middle of the shooting, so they put them in a row, but they were only women, kids and old people, because most of the men, they were hiding in the forests, because any man they find, they would kill.
Meet Palabo. At the age of 50, he made a bold decision. He sold everything and set out on a quest to visit every country in the world. This is the Radio Vagabond.
Hi guys, I'm heading to one of the youngest European countries. As you know, it's my goal to visit every UN nation in the world, so technically this country isn't on the list. But I don't care. My trip is not only about ticking off boxes, it's about the adventures, and being so close to this country, obviously I had to go there. So here I am. My name is Palabo, and this is episode 174 of the Radio Vagabond. Welcome to Kosovo. This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotels and guest houses and hostels around the world in one simple search. Hotels25.com. At the end of the Yugoslav War in 2001, Kosovo was a part of Serbia, but in February 2008, this small part of the world declared its independence. A declaration that has been recognized by 116 countries, which is not enough to get on the list of the 193. But even though it's not a UN nation, they were competing under their own flag at the Olympic Games in Rio in 2016. They sent a total of 8 athletes and returned with 1 gold medal in judo. Kosovo is home to 1.8 million people. In size, it's about 10,900 square kilometers, 4,200 square miles, around the same size as Jamaica. I've decided to stay in Prizren, in the southern part of the country. It's a 3-hour drive on a newly constructed highway from where I was in Tirana. The road is called a masterpiece of civil engineering, and it takes me over and through the mountains with dramatic views. And it just happened that my friend Adam from Albania Express Travel, that you got to meet in the previous episodes, had to go to Kosovo for business, so he offered me a ride. It was a nice drive with good company, but when we got to the border, we ran into problems with the border control, and Adam got pissed. Let me explain what happens here. Because Adam is working professionally with tourists, he has to have a special document when he's crossing the border with a guest. And he tried to explain that the guy in the car is not a guest, it's just a friend.
You need a special document when you drive with tourists. Because he asked me for you, I said to him, he's not a tourist, he's a friend of mine. No, he said he's a tourist. I said, he's not. So he's a friend of mine. But you need a special letter from... Can't believe this. And then he changed his mind and said, okay, go, just go. I think they're doing this to make it the situation difficult to get some money from me. I need to pay some cash. But also I know the chief of police of this area, so if you're gonna put me in trouble, so start directly, I'm gonna call this and he's gonna sort it out straight away. These are bastards, are not...
Adam was sure that the border control guy was just trying to shake him down for a bribe. Adam stood his ground. After a bit of an argument, we were allowed to move on. But Adam was not pleased.
travel is possible at any age. Your sense of adventure is just over the horizon. So, reach out and grab it. This is the Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
When we arrived to Prizren, I had to say goodbye to Adam, or rather so long, because I'm sure that I'll get to see him again. Prizren is a small city with a population of 180,000 people. I'm staying at a hostel called Drisa's House, close to Sinan Pasha Mosque. Now I'm in Kosovo. It's in the center of Eastern Europe. Kosovo has a population of 1.7 million, and 92% of them are Albanian. And then, I don't know if you can sense that, it's a Muslim country. I asked my host at Drisa's House, Erdis Drisa, to explain the complicated situation with Kosovo not being a UN nation because Serbia and other countries won't recognize it.
I don't know, with Serbia is very complicated, the situation, because Serbia is not recognizing Kosovo, but in another end it is recognizing our IDs. So if we want to go to Serbia, they don't recognize our passports, but they recognize our IDs, which is saying Written Republic of Kosovo. They just started doing that.
Prizren is the historical capital of Kosovo, and it's one of the oldest settlements in Kosovo and the Western Balkans. It's a charming city with mosques and monasteries dating back to the 14th century. Happily, Prizren was spared from the destroy the old and build new drive of the communists during the early years of their rule in Yugoslavia, something that Adam also was talking about happening in Tirana during the communist era there. And also, Prizren was spared a lot in the Yugoslav war. So it has the best preserved old town in the country, by far, and is also often referred to as the cultural capital of Kosovo.
You can follow Palabo on his Facebook page. Join the conversation about traveling and being a digital nomad. You can also see pictures, videos, and stories that don't necessarily make it into the podcast. Simply search for the Radio Vagabond.
I'm in the small city of Prizren, and it has a river running through it, and a lot of nice restaurants and a beautiful old town. And then there's a fortress up on the hill, and I'm trying to head up there now. Prizren Fortress is a fortification situated on a dominant hill, and it's well worth making the steep 15-minute hike up from Prizren's old town. From up there, I have a stunning view over the city and well into the distance. Archaeological excavations discovered the infrastructure with walls enforced with towers, labyrinth corridors, depots, and other inner rooms and dwellings. Remains have been found here dating back as far as 1100 BC.
This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
I found the hostel Drisa's House on hotels25.com, link in the show notes, and it's named after the owner, Erdis Drisa, and his family. It's a typical Prizren house, a 2-story old and traditional house. Around the time Erdis was born, his parents bought the house, so this is where he grew up and later converted it into a hostel. And they get a lot of guests here.
Yes, we get from all around the world, and it's a very nice thing. We learn a lot from them, and we tell them what we know about here.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years that we are running the hostel.
Yeah, but it used to be the family home.
Yes, I grew up in this house. For some time also, this was my room.
We're in your room here?
Yeah, this was my room for some
So there
time.
used to be music posters and
Yes.
football players on the walls.
When I was younger, on the room upstairs. I had my room upstairs, then I moved down here. But yes, I used to have the posters. I used to have my bunk bed with my brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, and my computer all times. And
now next door you have 5 bunk beds. You have a dorm room for 10 people, and
yes, now we welcome. So actually, like this house, my father bought it 30 years ago when he got married, and they bought and they renovated. So they moved here with my mom. And now, like 30 years after I got married, and a week after we got married, we started a hostel.
Oh, a week after, wow.
Yes, actually,
that was the honeymoon, renovating this place.
Yeah. We did a short honeymoon, but yes, this was the joy, the excitement of doing something.
Yeah.
And most of people were pessimistic about this idea because we were the second hostel in the town. And no one was really believing, and the city is full of modern hotels, and everyone was expecting that people go only to posh places like fancy hotels and stuff, and no one would stay in an old house.
Oh, it's got so much more soul than a regular hotel.
Exactly. So that's a good thing now, turning that every year is going better and better, and we are improving. We are renovating every season, another room, another. Making it more stable, because it's not.
It's not stable. The ceiling's gonna fall down.
No, we just changed. We just changed 4 months ago the ceiling, so now it's safe.
Now it's safe.
Now it's much safer.
Coming up, I go on a bus ride a bit north to a monastery and speak to Holly from San Diego, one of my new friends from the hostel. We have some fun facts about Kosovo that might surprise you, and then I speak more to Erdis about what he remembers from the war when he and his wife were just children.
My wife is from Pristina. When they went to her house, they put the Kalashnikov on her father's neck, and she was there, and she was like 6 years old, I think.
Stay right here. I've got an email from Alan, a listener from Christchurch in New Zealand. Hi, Palabo. I've been listening to the Radio Vagabond for a while. Typically, I listen when I take my dogs for a walk in the outskirts of Christchurch, New Zealand. It's exciting to hear about your journey in the Balkans, and I must admit that I felt like you about Albania. It's never been high on my list, but after listening to your episodes from Albania, it is now. I hope I'll be able to do a 3-month trip in Europe when the pandemic allows us to travel again. I'm in my late 40s, and a good thing that has come out of the work-at-home situation around the world is that it's become more normal and acceptable to work from anywhere. So I'm hoping to be more nomadic and location independent in the future. But I don't think I'll ever be fully nomadic like you. So please let me know if you make it to New Zealand. I'll show you a bit of our hospitality here and take you out for a beer or two. And we even have a spare room in the house, so you're welcome to stay for a bit. Keep it up, Alan. Wow, thanks, Alan. And you better believe that I will take you up on your offer, because New Zealand is on the absolute top of my bucket list. When I finally make it there, and it's long overdue, I will make sure to spend a long time in your country, and I guarantee that I'll make it to Christchurch. So see you there, hopefully in the not so far away future.
The ultimate destination for armchair travelers who are looking for inspiration to get out into the real world and let loose their wanderlust. This is the Radio Vagabond. And now, facts about where we are.
Tony Blair and Bill Clinton are both considered heroes in Kosovo. Pristina, the capital, has both a major road named after them and a 3-meter-tall statue of President Bill Clinton. Moreover, a number of children are given names like Tony Blair or Tony Blair in one word in honor of Tony Blair, the UK's Prime Minister at the time, for his support of the 1999 NATO air campaign against the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia during the Kosovo War. Although Kosovo is not an official Eurozone member, Kosovo has adapted the euro as their official currency in 2002. I come from an EU country, Denmark, and we don't even have the euro, so I found that quite interesting. However, Serb majority communities in the country are still, illegally, using the Serbian dinar as an unofficial currency. Their national anthem, Europe, has no lyrics. The Albanian-speaking government decided not to risk offending the Serbs who live in the country by having lyrics in Albanian. More than 70% of the country's population is under the age of 35, which makes Kosovo the youngest country in all of Europe. The median age of the people in Kosovo is only 29.1 years. The flag is unusual among national flags. It uses a map of the country's territory as a design element. Cyprus and Kosovo are the only two countries in the world whose flags doubles as a geographical representation. After Moldova, the people of Kosovo are the second poorest country in Europe, with 30% of the population below the poverty line, and the majority of the citizens live with a monthly income of fewer than 500 euros.
And that was Facts About Where We Are.
Let's dive a bit more into one of these facts with my host, Erdist Drisa. Something we don't even have in Denmark as a part of the EU. You have the euro, that's the official currency of Kosovo, but still you can't travel freely into the EU.
So the history of euro here, it's funny because before the war we used to have Serbian dinar, and then during the war the value dropped so much. Then people switched their money to keep them safe. They switched to Deutsche Mark, and so many people used to have related people like family members in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and they were sending money in Deutsche Mark, and people used to save. They converted all their money in Deutsche Mark, and we were using Deutsche Mark, like without permission or something, just having that money.
Even though Germany is not a neighboring country.
So after Germany switched to euro, so we had no option, and then people just converted all their Deutsche Mark to euro, and then we didn't have any other currency, so EU accepted. So it's the same also with Montenegro, the same case. They have also euro without our being in EU. And I think, for my opinion, I think it's better to not have our own currency as a new country, because we have a lot of corruption and stuff, so it's not a good thing to have a own currency, and then the value drops. Like every time you change the government, they print more money, and then it just goes to inflation. So I think we have only the money that is coming to Kosovo. Like most of money is German euro. It's behind is written like Germany, produced in Germany. So, because all the EU countries, they print their own euro, but so we use the euro brought from the EU, and we cannot control it, so it's much better for the economy. Even that we are like tied on that. If Kosovo diaspora, if they don't visit Kosovo, then it will be very bad economy. The main income of Kosovo is the money that comes from our diaspora, people that migrated during the war or before the war, during the hard times, that migrated to EU. So they still visit Kosovo every year for holidays, and they spend most of their money here to buy clothes, to buy, I don't know, stuffs that they may need there that are more expensive, or repair their cars. I mean, fix their cars, or what, I don't know what else. Like, or they invest in their relatives' businesses here, or they do weddings and stuff. So traditions keep people still coming back here and spending all their holiday money back here.
Coming up later in this episode.
But when they came, there was no choice. They came and they said, okay, it's, like, we cannot do anything, you better leave. And we had to do that. But we were in a refugee camp for 4 months. I didn't have shoes for 4 months.
We speak more with Erdis later in this episode, but now let's go on a day trip a bit north of here. I was told that it would be a good trip to go and experience the monastery Visoki Dikani. So I teamed up with another guest from the hostel, Holly from San Diego, and got on a bus. Visoki Dikani is a medieval Serbian Orthodox Christian monastery located near Dekan in Kosovo. It was founded in the first half of the 14th century by Stefan Dekanski, king of Serbia, and is located by a river gorge at the foot of the Prokreći Mountains. The monastery is a part of a World Heritage Site named Medieval Monuments in Kosovo. And then the monks produce wine here. After the visit to the monastery, we go about half an hour further north to Peja, the fourth most populous city of Kosovo. There, Holly and I find a cafe to get a refreshment, lunch, and a bit of shade. So Holly, how long time have you been here in Kosovo?
I have now been here for 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you. So what's your impression of the country?
It reminds me a lot of other Balkan countries. I don't know if I see that much of a difference, but the people here may be offended by that.
Yeah, they would, yeah.
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, I don't know. The Albanians might like it because I do feel like it's rather similar to Albania.
Yeah.
But the Serbians might be offended. I don't see it as being that different. No. But I don't know.
No. Well, some Serbians might say, well, technically it's still a part of Serbia, but
yes,
we won't go into
that.
That might be, no. For me, it's unbelievable to think that there was such a brutal war in this area. You don't really see it much now.
You really don't see it at all. You don't even see, I mean, if you go to Sarajevo, you still see bullet holes in the walls. Here, it looks like it could have been here forever and just looked exactly the same. I would never guess it if I didn't know.
And in Belgrade, I saw that they still have the bombed police station that they just left there as sort of a monument.
Yeah, and you can see bunkers in Tirana also. But here, you see some of the presence, I guess, like we saw today at the monastery, where you have the NATO troops outside.
Yeah.
But other than that...
Yeah. I was planning to go here to Peja, where we are now, from Prizren, where the hostel is that we both stayed. I stayed there till tomorrow, and you stayed there till today. And I wanted to go to the monastery, and you said, well, you're going that way, so we went on the same bus. And tell me a little bit about the monastery we went to.
That was a very beautiful monastery, nestled right in the mountains there. You can still see a little bit of the snow up on some of the peaks. It seems like they picked a very tranquil place to grow their grapes, have their fruit trees, have a place to pray and reflect. It seems like most monasteries seek those out, and lots of frescoes inside.
I don't think it's a big surprise that you're from the States, but you're from San Diego, California?
Yes, I am.
And so you're bilingual, I guess.
I am. I speak English and Spanish.
Yeah, it's hard not to speak Spanish when you're there.
You don't have to. You can absolutely just speak English, but it's useful.
Yeah. And soon after you finish this trip, you and your boyfriend, you're moving to the Detroit area?
Yes, we are.
That's going to be quite different.
It will be. Yes, we'll have winter. We'll have a lot of automobile factories, different demographic of people.
Yeah. How many times in your life have you seen snow?
I've seen snow quite a few times, but I've never lived in snow. So I will go to the mountains and visit for 2 days maybe each winter, but I don't stay in the snow.
So that's going to be a change.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about the trip that you've been on. How long is it? Where's it taking you?
Well, we're on a 4-month trip, and we've started for the most part in the Balkans, are spending a little over a month or so in the Balkans, and then we are headed down to Greece, and we take a ferry to Turkey, and then we actually take a flight and go over to Southeast Asia.
Oh,
and
really?
Yes, because he has to go back to India, so we thought we'd do a little bit of that part. We couldn't really cross in between.
Yeah, your boyfriend he's Indian, and he's at the moment in Romania,
yes.
And he'll join you
yes,
shortly.
We'll meet back in Serbia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where in Asia are you planning to go?
So we'll start in Vietnam, and we'll go from the north to the south of Vietnam, and then over to Cambodia.
Yeah.
After that, he will continue on to Malaysia with his family, and I will go over to Thailand. because he's been to Thailand before. We had to find a compromise.
Yeah.
I can go to the places he hasn't been yet.
Yeah. So why this trip now? You're in your late 20s, I think you told me. Why do you take this trip now?
Why not now? We had a natural break in time where we were going to be moving anyway, so it makes it easier to pack up because you're going to be packing up in a few months and just go.
So at the moment, when you're in between houses, you don't really have any rent to pay?
We have no rent to pay, no bills to pay. We just have our stuff stored at friends' houses. My stuff's at my parents' house, and so we could go.
And now we have our food here it's the 1st of May, and here in Peja, everything is closed. But we've managed to find one restaurant, and this looks good. Got a sandwich with some chicken, and you got a pizza. So, yeah, thank you. And I wish you all the best in the future.
You too. Enjoy your trips.
This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotels and guest houses and hostels around the world in one simple search. Hotels25.com.
The Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
Back at the hostel, I speak more to the owner, Aris Dresa. The hostel's got a real homey feeling. For one, they also have a playful dog here, and it is interrupting our chat in a few seconds. 93% of the people in Kosovo are Albanians.
93% of population are Albanians. And
so do you feel a brothership with Albania? Or?
Yes, they are brother countries. We don't have any restrictions between countries. We can cross the border without passport. We need just our ID or any kind of paper from the municipality that tells you're that person. It can be a birth certificate, it doesn't matter. So it's easy, and also when we go there, it's a lot big respect about people from Kosovo. During the war, I've been a refugee in
This is where the dog distracts me, so I don't even hear that Erdis said that they were refugees in Albania. But don't worry, we'll get back to that a bit later. You have a dog here, and you
so excited.
He's so excited and so playful, and you took him from the street when he had no hair and looked like a little pig.
Yeah, he had a skin
and now he
disease,
looks so good.
Skin infection. He lost all, and it was like -15. Now he got his life back, and it's just
so full of energy. Yeah. And he rules this place. Sometimes a little bit too much.
Yeah, in the evening, during the day, he's so lazy.
Yeah, now he's got the energy. Yeah. No, where were we? How is Kosovo evolving these years? You told me, of course, there's totally free elections, but you still got quite a way to go.
Yeah, it is, of course, because it's just a new country. It's been 10 years of independence, and it still needs time to change the generation, to improve the education, and to have more diplomatic people to represent the Kosovo in front of all the world, because now we have most of people that are ruling the country. They are not, I can say, not true politicians. They became politicians after the war, after we got the freedom, not the independence, the freedom. But now, 10 years after, we are having people that are graduated from Harvard or from other universities around the world, and they are coming back to serve their country. And people, the new generation of youth, they are looking after it, and they are not looking after who fight it on the war or what they did during the war. They don't judge that. They go after what education they took and what they are going to do for them, because most of the population in Kosovo, as I said, 75% of population is under 35 years old. So it's a huge force for change, and they are more difficult to, I don't know, like trick them, or I don't know, like just.
It's so weird being here in the Balkans, right here in Europe, where there was such a brutal war in my lifetime here in the former Yugoslavia. Erdis is a young man, but he was 9 when it ended, so he does remember it.
Yeah, I remember most of it. I remember, but because I was grown up and living here in the city center of Prizren, so the Serbian military didn't do much in the city centers where majority were Serbians living around, because they were doing bad things, and it wasn't like official military doing those things. They were like some groups of military that were unofficially. So, and they didn't do bad things because not everyone was a bad person from Serbians, and the neighbors we had, they were very good. Like we had the doctors, we had like educated people around in the neighborhood, so they could take pictures or they could like report something, and it could be a big issue. So instead, most of the bad stuff, massacres and killings happened in the villages where majority were Albanians. And that's the step of.
It's so weird to think, because it's in recent years. It's right here in Europe, and all the stuff that happened.
So it would be basically on those times in '99, they just came to the neighborhood and they went to every house which Albanians used to live, and they gave you 10 or 15 minutes just to prepare and leave.
Wow.
So, and everyone was so afraid that if they said 5 minutes, people were leaving in 2 minutes. You didn't have time, nothing to pick up, just your elementary things, and just go. So we went to Albania.
Did that happen to you as well?
Yes, everywhere.
Can you tell me about that night? Do you remember that?
It was during the day, actually. It was during the day, because they didn't do like bad things. They just came house by house, and they just said that you have to leave.
Were you expecting it?
Yes, because they were going house by house, and in the villages they were killing people, so others see that and then leave. So they didn't warn them.
So your parents, they packed up the kids and said, "Okay, let's go."
And some of our neighbors, they kept us till the last moment here, because they were saying like if they will do something to you, they have to pass first us, because we will save you. Like we will protect you. We will be in your side here. But when they came, there was no choice. They came and they said, okay, it's, like we cannot do anything, you better leave. And we had to do that. But for us it wasn't dangerous. I don't know, we made it easy. We made it there, but we were in a refugee camp for 4 months. I didn't have shoes for 4 months. So yeah.
In Albania?
Yes, in Albania. Yeah. So yeah, those times, but some other people had more difficult times. Like there are so bad stories that when you think of those, like I cannot imagine like experiencing those things. I have like family members that was in middle of the shooting, so they put them in a row, but they were only women, kids and old people, because most of the men they were hiding in the forests, because any man they find they would kill. So like one story that I know, and it's very bad, that I feel very bad when I think of it, like what she experienced. They were in a row in a village, and they said that you are going through the border in the forest, and then while walking on the street they were training with a snipe, like shooting people. Just if someone, like they were going in a row by one, if someone just changed, like goes 2 people per row, they were shooting them. And like so many people saw like their the relative I have, she saw her brother in front of her eyes killed, and she couldn't move, just had to walk straight because they would shoot you too. My wife is from Pristina. Like when they went to her house, like they put the Kalashnikov on her father's neck, and she was there, and she was like 6 years old, I think. And so she saw that, and and then they went inside, because during the war we used to stay, like in this house we were around 20 people. All my relatives came here because it was the safest place in the city, like in the center, like they would feel safer. So she lives also in the center, but is like maybe like next to the museum in Pristina, I don't know, like a kilometer. Yeah, so they went inside, and they took her aunt's daughter, they put in a room, they raped her in front of family, you know, and she's like 40 years old or older, and she's not married. She's like kind of ashamed from. There are these.
How does this evilness come up in soldiers that are? Yeah. It's
the biggest.
I don't understand where that comes from.
Yeah, the biggest thing I don't understand is like why Serbia allowed those people that massacred people in Bosnia, allowed 10 years after, bringing them to Kosovo and saying we haven't done anything. That's the thing, because they were the same people doing massacres in Bosnia and Herzegovina 10 years after. They come here and they do the same thing, and they still pretend that nothing happened here. You know, like it's very bad when you go. I've been in Belgrade, and in the walking tour they send you to destroyed buildings from NATO, telling you that NATO bombed them, and they were used from military, and NATO reported that they are going to bomb the place. They never bombed the place without telling to evacuate the people. So they talk always about that thing. It's been like 20 years, and they still have that thing there as a monument.
The old police station.
Yes. So, but here every neighborhood was bombed from NATO, and no one ever talks about it. You know, so if we would have saved those like holes from bombings and the destroyed houses, like then it would become like, I don't know, in Bosnia, if you visited Bosnia and Herzegovina. Okay, so you will have the feel, even that it's been like more than 20 years there of war, you have there you the feeling of the war. Like when you walk around in the neighborhoods, you can see houses like with bullet holes. You can see like burnt houses. You feel more the war in the city. But here in Kosovo, it's so difficult to get a place to say, oh, if you just search on Google Kosovo after the war, 2001, 2000s, you won't recognize the difference like much that it is, because after the war government just rebuilt it everything. So now it's not much, and people they don't think that there was any war or something big going on. They think it was a small conflict, but around 300,000 people were massacred and killed, like civilians.
Let's finish this episode on a positive note in just a few seconds, and then I'll tell you where I'm going next. But before that, let me remind you that this episode is partly supported by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotels and guest houses and hostels like Drisa's home here in Kosovo. Hotels25.com. Also, I want to mention that this episode is produced by me and my production company Radio Guru. If you need some help starting a podcast, or if you need voiceovers in any language for online videos, TV commercials, anything, please reach out. See more about what I do on radioguru.co.uk. And now back for a few last words from Eris. Pristina is such a lovely spot, and it's really something, a vibrant little city.
Yeah, it's going, it's good, but Kosovo in general needs a lot of improvements in infrastructure. And
well, Kosovo's barely a teenager, so exactly. Give it some time.
Yes, that's why I have very optimistic opinions about Kosovo, and I see a bright future about Kosovo, even that we have so big problems going on. But still, the hope is that the youth, that we have very good new generation coming up, and there is hope. And we are having the first wave of tourists, like backpackers, which every famous place in the world become famous because of backpackers, like the first wave of the ambassadors that they go like you're doing now, that you're telling all the world like about us. So then we will have probably like more investments and bigger chains in the country.
And now it's goodbye to Kosovo, and I'm off to another Baltic country, a small new country close to the ocean. I'm going to Montenegro, and I'm so looking forward to that.
Next week on the Radio Vagabond.
Okay, I was just kicked out of the hostel that I booked. When he saw me, without looking at my passport, he said, "Oh, we do have an age restriction. You're too old." My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya. I hope you enjoyed this flashback episode, and if you did, please share it with one of your friends. There's gonna be so much exciting stuff coming up in Season 7 of the Radio Vagabond, and we start that one in September. My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.